Thor Ragnarok is one of the few sparks of life in the cookie-cutter gray mush that is the Marvel Cinematic Universe. And I'm not alone in thinking this. This is pretty consistently one of the Marvel Cinematic Universe films that even people who are sick and tired of these movies like. And I like this movie too. Well, parts of it at least. Most of it. Not this part. But I'll get to that later. Generally, the best thing about this film is the overall aesthetic and the set pieces in the film. One of the main issues I have with the Marvel Cinematic Universe films is just how washed out and boring everything looks in them. They generally look like they're holding back in terms of visual flair and style, in an attempt to make comic book heroes look serious and more cool. Like, hey, 40-something-year-old neckbeard who has grown bitter and lost all sense of imagination and joy in your life? Remember when you used to read those colorful, vibrant, creative comics? Well, now they're all grown up and hard-boiled and boring. They've grown up with you. So much of the visual design in Marvel feels this way. Most likely the reason for this being that these films are meant to be pop culture. They are meant to sell a lot because they cost a lot to make. And art is limited by the culture and society it is made in a lot of cases. So if you want a mass audience, you have to cater to that mass audience. And a large majority of audiences want to feel like they are watching something mature, something as grown up as they are. They don't want beautiful, bright, poppy visual design. They want something down to earth and more relatable. Serious, relatable visuals mixed with creative, already established properties is what sells in this day and age. Just look at that awful, disgusting looking Detective Pikachu movie trailer. Literally everything about this trailer is gross to me. All of the Pokemon look awful, the visuals look terrible, and yet people have a positive reaction to it. They feel like because Pokemon has this serious generic Hollywood visuals now, they are allowed to enjoy it again. Like they can't enjoy cartoon creative visuals. Like it has to be this boring, muted grayness. They have been conditioned by society to accept this awful garbage. Because it is what they are fed, they are trapped. And this applies to much of the Marvel Cinematic Universe as well, and a lot of comic book movies in general, especially ones made by DC, but we're not talking about those movies because they're all bad. However, Thor Ragnarok has some really cool visual moments despite all this. It gets away from a lot of the generic visuals of the Marvel Cinematic Universe in favor of more creative locations. By far the best part of the film visually is when Thor arrives in planet Sakaar and is strapped to the chair being taken on a tour. That part is beautiful. It's visually one of the strongest parts of the film. Planet Sakaar in Thor Ragnarok is generally well designed overall as well. It has a lot of interesting citizens and architecture. I love the costume design on everyone on the planet, particularly the junker type people who first discovered Thor. Their costumes were so good! The arena where Thor and Hulk have their huge battle is really cool, and the city area where the main characters have to go through near the end is really awesome. Now, the weakest part of the film visually for me was Asgard, Thor's homeland. The design of the place feels very generic fantasy, and I think generally everything involving Asgard and Thor's family was the weakest part of this film. The main plot revolves around Thor being trapped on planet Sakaar and being forced by the Grand Master to battle Hulk in an arena. He has to get back to Asgard in order to save it from being taken over by his evil sister named Hela. Also, his hammer gets destroyed by her early in the film, so he has to learn to use his thunder powers without the hammer. And the main issue I have with this film is that its focus is too split. The most interesting part of this film is everything to do with Thor and Hulk and their plot on planet Sakaar. And the least interesting part of the film is everything to do with Asgard and Hela. Hela is one of the many generic, uninspired villains in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. These films always feel like they have to shove in some generic cookie-cutter villain at the end, and I'm really getting sick of it. Hela's whole personality is that she just wants to take over the throne of Asgard because she's the firstborn of Thor and Loki's father. She was once side by side with their father, and she feels cheated out of the throne because she was erased from history and blah blah blah. She's just dark, evil, and strong. You've seen it a million times. There isn't much to her character really. And I really didn't care about Thor getting back to Asgard to fight her. By far the best parts of the film are when Thor and Hulk are interacting. I think Marvel team-ups in general are at their strongest when you get to see the dynamics of two characters and really focus on the relationship and conflict that they have. Too many characters and focus on the large narrative of the MCU can make these films feel bogged down and contrived. But here, Hulk and Thor's relationship is really well done. I just wish this was the focus of the film. Whenever I hear anyone talk about this movie, they always talk about how seeing Hulk and Thor talk by the hot tub was one of the best parts of the movie, and I agree. I wanted more of that. I wish this was a Planet Hulk adaptation fully, is basically what I'm saying. Now, one of my strange disappointments throughout this film was the character of Thor himself. He's honestly one of the least developed characters in the movie, weirdly. I know that sounds weird, but it's true. I mean, Thor losing his hammer and being forced to reconcile with having to fight without it was surprisingly not explored as much as it should have been. And I say this because there's this scene at the end of the film during the final battle where Thor unleashes his thunder power after struggling with feeling like he's not powerful enough without his hammer. This scene was powerful, but not as powerful as it should have been. If this was supposed to be one of the defining emotional moments of the film, then why didn't they focus on this aspect of Thor's character harder? Why not have him struggle with his insecurities about his strength and fighting abilities more? Show him being emotionally distraught and weak. Build his confidence level up more as the film goes on. This would have gave him a great emotional arc and endeared me more to the character. I feel like this film did try to endear audiences more to Thor's character though. He's more humorous and fun than he has been in any of the other films, and he has a genuine sense of heart to him. I just wish the film had a more focus on his emotional arc. And that's what I really wanted from this film overall, more focus. I feel like this was two different movies split in half in a way, the Asgard stuff and the Planet Hulk inspired stuff, and I wanted more of the Planet Hulk stuff, to be honest. I just want more focus. Go harder on the thematic elements brought up. Thor Ragnarok is a movie filled with a lot of potential, and it delivers on a lot of it, and it's a good blockbuster Hollywood film overall. It just needed more focus to make it a truly, amazing film.